Okay, welcome to another tutorial for the Graphical Techniques Unit 1 for the Graphic Design Award Level 2. Basically, we've been through a few bits and pieces now, and one of the things I'd like to show you how to do is how we create obviously a nice looking vector graphic and integrate it into another piece of software that we'll use throughout the rest of the course, which is a piece of software called GIMP, standing for GNU Image Manipulation Program, which is a free version or a free equivalent to a photo editing package famously known as Photoshop. You can download it from www.gimp.org/download, and it's a free piece of software. It's fantastic, I think, anyway. It allows you to do all your photo editing pretty much for free. So it's got a lot of features to it, and I'm going to take you through a particular tutorial in a little after this particular one on how we kind of use Inkscape and GIMP in tandem to create even more fabulous graphic design work. What I wanted to be able to do was to show you how to create a character, and we'll use that character in GIMP later on. So naturally, being a bit of a fan of comic books, I chose the Wolverine, and this is an example of what we'll try to aim for with our work in this particular tutorial. So how did I create the Wolverine? The way I did this was, first of all, I went to View and Grid. We won't need this all the way through the tutorial, but we will first of all, just to get all the standard kind of shapes in place. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the tutorial at certain points, because I'm going to show you a very crucial feature or principle to creating this character, and then I will complete that stage and then come back to you to say this is the end result, so to allow you to sort of crack on with it rather than me sitting here for the next 45 minutes or whatever drawing up Wolverine, because this may take a little longer than say 5 to 10 minutes. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself Wolverine's head. So I'm just going to create myself a good circle, and that's what I'm going to start with, because this particular tutorial is all about layers and building up and joining layers. So there's Wolverine's head. I'm going to make it go black, and as you can see, that sort of back part of his mask is all black, and I need to now start creating his ears. So the way I would do that is I would use my Draw Bezier Curves or Draw Bezier Curves tool, or straight lines, to start creating his ears. And I've pulled a guideline through to roughly middle of the square, so I can have a starter point to ensure that his ears are in the right place. And I'm just, from a dot to dot process, going to click once, and I'm then going to click again a third time and come slightly into the circle and then finish off the shape there. So I've got my outline. I'm going to make it go black, and I'm then going to zoom into it, because what I'm now going to do is curve the ear, because obviously he's not got this kind of angled ear in my other example. It's actually a little bit more curved. The way I do that is I go to my edit pass by nodes, so that my nodes start to appear. I'm going to click the one where the angle is obviously at an angle, because I want to curve that. And the way I do that is I select the node and use this particular tool here, which you may have played with during the Apple tutorial back in level 1, and make selected nodes symmetric. Okay, and what that then has done is bent that round, but there's still a little bit of an angle. So if you wanted to kind of soften that, just drag this particular node at the end here round a little bit higher up, so you get that kind of a slightly flatter finish. Now, a shortcut to not having to draw the ear twice is, what I would do is right click and duplicate, and then hit the H key on your keypad to flip it, and then using my right arrow key on my keypad, I'll just nudge that along until I've got it in the right place, so I know that I've got it exactly the same ear on both sides. So there's the start of my Wolverine head. I'm going to select all of it, and the way I could do that is by selecting the ear, holding down shift, select the other ear, and then select the head. So all whilst holding down the shift button, and once it's all selected, just go to path and union. Right, so that is essentially the first part. Now what I'm now going to move on to is I'm going to do the eyes, and this is quite a straightforward process as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull a guideline through so it's in line with the middle of the head, so I know exactly where the eyes should meet. I'm going to get my Bezier Curves tool out. My drawing here may look a little different to the original, and I'm just going to create some nice angry looking eyes by using the dot to dot. Fill it in white so I know what the eye is going to look like. And to get that kind of that finish here, that little tweak, in fact actually I could flip that by hitting H. No, I'm going to go back and keep it there. And to get that sort of that little spike coming out of it, I'm going to zoom in to the eye, and I'm just going to add a node to it so that I can kind of sharpen it up. So go to Edit Pass by Nodes, and I'm going to click somewhere along the line and pull that down. I'm then going to click somewhere along here into the middle, and then I'm just going to drag that up. And then what I will then have is a kind of spiky eye. I'm going to duplicate it, and then going to press H on my keypad to flip it, and then using my right arrow key I'm just going to nudge that along. So as I said, this Wolverine might look a little different to the example that I've got here, but this will give you an idea of how I've actually gone about building it. I'm going to unionize both of them by dragging over both and go to Path and Union, and I'm then just going to drop the eyes into it. So I'm just going to go black and using the rectangle tool to create my eyeball. Now the actual curve on this eye has been done using that Edit Pass by Nodes, which I used to create the Facebook icons. You can either pull that up to make it square, or if you wanted to make the eye rounded, just pull the circle here down, or up to make it a square to right angle, or just put it down to make it curve. I'm going to make it a curve this time, and I'm going to pull that down slightly further, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and just like before I'm just going to nudge that along using the right arrow key so it's roughly in line with the other one. I'm going to hold down my Shift button, and I'm going to select the other eyeball and go to Path and Union, and once that's already highlighted I'm going to hold down Shift again and go Path, select the eyes, like the white sections, so they're all selected, and go Path and Difference. So there's my eyes. Now what you'll notice is that I've still got an outline around this Bezier curve, so to get rid of that it's very straightforward. This is Paintbrush up here in the top, click on that, and that will bring a dialog box up on the right hand side of the screen. So I'm just going to go to my Stroke Paint tab here and just click the cross, and that will now take the outline off the shape. Now if you want to use it just for guidance and keep it there, that's up to you. I'm going to just take it off so that my drawing looks a little cleaner, and I'm also just going to take the outline off the original head. So now I've got my eyeballs in place, I've got my head in place. I'm now going to just do this top bit of his crown of his head, and the way I do that is a nice little trick. And the way I do it, again, Bezier Curves tool, find a point at the top, and I'm going to create a triangle. I'm going to fill it yellow so I can see it. I can find a better yellow that's more suitable to the Wolverine's colours, and I'm just going to add an extra node along the middle of the triangle up here and pull it up. If you want to add any more just to get it a little bit more towards the edge, that's up to you. It's probably best if I put an extra one in, and then I'm going to hold down Shift, select all the nodes so that they're all selected, and then I'm just going to make them all symmetrical. And now if I pull that up a little bit, I can take my grid off. As I said, you can take your grid, put your grid on, take your grid off, and zoom in a little bit and get a better curve on it. Now if you click this icon up here to show the Bezier handles, it allows you to create and sharpen or widen the curves that you're creating. I think it's a good It's a good tool to use in terms of just getting a kind of outline, rough shape. I'm going to expand that one out a little bit as well. Then I'm going to take the stroke off. And that is a kind of blobby part of the head. Now, what I'm now going to do is a bit of a shortcut. I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to horizontal flip it using my keypad, and I'm just going to join that all together and ensure that it's all in the right place. Now don't be worried, there's a bit of a dip in there. We can get rid of that in just a second by selecting both. I'm going to unionize it, and then I'm just going to go to ensure that actually getting that guideline out the way for now. Make sure that it's all in place and exactly in line. I'm just going to select this tool and go Path, Union. Go to my Nodes tool, and I'm just going to pull that up a little bit along with the other one to keep it all in line. Okay, so there's my crown of Wolverine in place. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more rough. And then what I'm now going to do, very similar to the way I did the crown, is I'm just going to add a few more nodes in here and bend this round the other way. And I'll be back once I've. Okay, I've gone and created my handles. Now all I'm going to do is just drag that down so it goes over his nose. And just change that a little bit so that it's in place, it's not too far over his eyes. And I've now got the start of Wolverine's head. Now I'm conscious of the time, so this may move into a second part tutorial. So, but what I'm now going to work into is now begin building his the bottom of his mouth. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that, if we look at the shape of this one, is I am going to create a shape using the Bezier Curves tool. And fill that with a kind of a flesh coloured texture. Using my Nodes tool, like before, I'm just going to make sure that everything is curved. I'll just refer back to that one, add a little bit of a curve in there, pull that down and curve it, and then I'm going to duplicate it and do a horizontal flip. Path, Union, stick it together. I think it's not quite stuck together. Path, Union, and then there is a start of my face. I'm going to move that to make sure that it's all in the middle and push that up a little bit. So yeah, it's a little bit different to the original. I may want to create these eyes, make these a little bit wider as well. So please tweak your design if it's not quite in proportions. It's always good about this package is that you can actually do that. And then there's his face sorted out in the bottom part of his mask, and now we have to add his mouth, which is a fairly straightforward process. That's a very simple triangle, and then colour him white and get rid of the outline. So there is Wolverine's face. Now what I'll move into in the second tutorial is then beginning to create his body. Similar principles, but once we've created the bodies, then I'll also look at adding a bit of shading as well to his to the actual character.